Imagine waking up one morning and the world as you know it has crumbled. Your savings, your job, your home gone. This wasn't a nightmare. It was the harsh reality for millions of American families during the Great Depression. Today, we're going to step back in time and explore the profound and personal ways this economic catastrophe reshaped the very fabric of American life. It all started with a crash. Not a car crash, but the stock market crash of October 1929, Black Tuesday. Wall Street panicked, and the shockwaves spread across the country like a wildfire. Banks, which had invested people's life savings in the booming stock market, suddenly collapsed. One day you had money in the bank. The next, the doors were locked, and your money had vanished. For the average family, this was the first terrifying blow. They weren't stock market gamblers. They were factory workers, farmers, and small business owners who trusted the system. Suddenly, unemployment skyrocketed. In 1929, the unemployment rate was just over 3%. By 1933, it had soared to an unbelievable 25%. 1 in every 4 workers was jobless. Think about that. On your street, every 4th house had no income. Factories fell silent. Businesses shuttered their windows. But the help wanted signs were replaced with signs that read "No help wanted" for a family man who had prided himself on providing for his wife and children. This was a devastating psychological blow. He would wake up each morning, put on his best clothes, what was left of them, and join long lines of other men, all searching for any kind of work. They'd walk for miles, from factory to factory, hoping for a day's labor, only to be turned away time and time again. The sense of failure and helplessness was immense. Many men felt they had lost their identity, their role as the provider. This financial strain tore at the seams of family life. Homes were lost as people couldn't pay their mortgages. Eviction notices became a common sight. Families would be put out on the street with all their worldly possessions piled up on the curb, a public display of their misfortune. Where did they go? Many ended up in makeshift shantytowns that sprang up on the outskirts of cities. They were cynically nicknamed Hoovervilles, a jab at President Herbert Hoover, whom many blamed for the crisis. These were grim collections of shacks built from scrap wood, cardboard, and metal sheets. There was no running water, no sanitation. It was a bleak, desperate existence. Inside the home, or what was left of it, daily life became a battle for survival. Mothers became masters of ingenuity and stretching every last resource. A simple meal was a luxury. Diets consisted of whatever was cheapest, often potatoes, beans, and bread. Meat was a rare treat. To make ends meet, women would take in laundry, sell homemade goods, or work for meager wages in whatever jobs they could find, often facing exploitation. They were the silent heroes, holding their families together with sheer willpower and resourcefulness. They patched clothes until they were more patched than fabric and found creative ways to keep their children fed, often going hungry themselves to ensure their kids had something to eat. Children, of course, were the most vulnerable. Many suffered from malnutrition and related health problems. The phrase "a chicken in every pot" became a cruel joke. Instead, children stood in long breadlines and soup kitchens, a sight that became tragically common across America. Many had to leave school to help their families, either by working small jobs or by scavenging for food or coal. The carefree days of childhood were stolen from them. They grew up too fast, their young faces etched with a worry that should never belong to a child. The Depression didn't just hit the cities, it devastated rural America, too. Farmers were already struggling before the crash due to falling crop prices. When the Depression hit, it was a knockout punch. On top of the economic collapse, a massive drought hit the Great Plains in the 1930s. The land, overfarmed for years, turned to dust. Fierce winds whipped this dust into colossal black blizzards that blotted out the sun. This was the Dust Bowl. Crops were buried, livestock choked on the dust, and families found their homes and lives buried under drifts of dirt. For these farm families, their land wasn't just a business. It was their heritage, passed down through generations. To lose it was to lose everything. Faced with foreclosure and starvation, hundreds of thousands of families packed their belongings into rickety cars and headed west, seeking a new life in places like California. They became migrant workers, or Okies, as they were often dismissively called. They dreamed of a promised land, but often found only more hardship, living in squalid camps and competing for low-paying farm labor jobs. The psychological toll of this decade-long struggle was immense. Marriages strained under the pressure. The birth rate fell as people couldn't afford to have children. The suicide rate climbed. Yet, amidst all this despair, there was also incredible resilience. Communities pulled together. Neighbors shared what little they had. People found solace in simple pleasures, listening to the radio, going to the movies to escape reality for a couple of hours, or gathering for a community dance. The human spirit, though battered, was not broken. When Franklin D. Roosevelt became president in 1933, he introduced the New Deal, a series of programs designed to provide relief, recovery, and reform. Programs like the Civilian Conservation Corps put young men to work on conservation projects, and the Works Progress Administration created jobs building roads, bridges, and public buildings. These programs didn't end the Depression overnight, but they provided a crucial lifeline. They gave families a paycheck, and just as importantly, they restored a sense of dignity and hope. The Great Depression finally ended with the onset of World War II, as America's factories roared back to life to support the war effort. But the scars remained. The generation that lived through it was forever changed. They became known for their frugality, their deep-seated fear of debt, and their appreciation for simple security. They taught their children the value of saving, of not taking anything for granted. The stories of these families are a powerful reminder of how fragile our economic systems can be, but also of the incredible strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity. They remind us that behind the economic charts and statistics are real people, real families, whose lives were turned upside down. Their legacy is a cautionary tale, but it's also a story of survival, resilience, and the enduring power of family. Thank you for watching and taking this journey back in time with us. If you found this story meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into history.